as a good segue to your current work on USOs, submersible objects. Thomas Townsend Brown was actually a Navy guy.
Yeah.
And it seems like he was in the Navy, I think, from like 1933 to 42, and it seems like the Navy knew a thing or two maybe about UFOs before the Air Force actually did.
It's totally possible. Yes, absolutely. For example, one USO account, which is actually the account that started me on this book project that I'm in, nearly done. I did the first volume, that's out. 2 and 3 are coming out.
Go get it.
Was an account right by the Aleutian Islands, near a little island called Adak Island, in the summer, of 1945. So it's the Pacific War was still happening. The European War was done by then. And there was a U.S. transport ship called the Delaroff, which was coming back from Japan to Seattle. And it was passing by, it's still in the middle of ocean, but north of it, the closest Aleutian island was this place called Adak. You can look it up on Google Earth. And according to the primary witness who was interviewed, a man named Robert Crawford, he spoke with a number of researchers, including Dr. James McDonald, who's kind of a legend himself. Anyway, Crawford said, the crew, they saw this. He didn't see the object come from the water. He saw it right after that. But other people did see it emerge from the water. It's a disc-shaped object, about 200 feet in diameter, circled their transport ship twice. Totally silent. He said there were high winds. This thing should have been bouncing around in the wind. It was rock solid, totally stable. And then it zipped off to, I think, the east or the southeast so fast. And he said you could see this flash of light as it left. So that's U.S. Navy.
You have just documented 670 something unidentified submersible object cases. You've created this whole database and taxonomy around them. Which case shocked you the most and why?
There's some very excellent ones. One of the early ones did shock me. It was from 1825, and it was in the South Pacific. So it was a British vessel called the HMS Blonde. There's a naturalist on board. I liken it to, in the movie Master and Commander, there was that great buddy of Russell Crowe, the doctor. And so I think of him as this type of a guy. So he's the naturalist. He wrote a diary. His name was Andrew Bloxham. And he kept a very detailed account of the travels of this ship during this. They actually went from Hawaii to the UK, back to Hawaii, and then down to the Cook Islands and on their way to South America. And so on the return trip from Hawaii, they're passing the Cook Islands, and he writes in his diary at 3:30 a.m. on August 12th, 1825. This is 200 years ago. He said, the night watch reported this orange spherical object rise from the ocean at 7 degrees. He said it lit the deck of the ship so bright you could pick a pin off the deck. It then descended back into the water and then rose a second time and then descended into the water. And what's interesting, you could find this as a PDF online. You could look it up. And he, before all of that, this is like just really detailed account of the travel. It's very meticulous. And after that, it's very conventional, very meticulous. Interesting. He published this as a diary at the time. So it's been in publication for 200 years. And there's just this one entry of this. He said it was red hot like a cannon shot. It was, I think, about the size of the moon or the sun, although there was no moon out that night. So there's no confusion with that. And that's it. It's just this bizarre thing. I read this and holy crap. And what I like to pair it with another encounter from 150 years later involving a United States aircraft carrier, the USS John F. Kennedy, which was in July 2nd, 1971. It had just finished doing a series of qualification tests, which they do periodically to stay, current. And we have this account from the man who ran communications at that time. His name is James Kopf with a K. And he wrote about this several times, around 2000, 2001. He spoke to the Disclosure Project in 2000, so he's on record for that. So anyway, this is what he says. July 2nd, 1971, it's 8:30 at night. He's running the comms, and he said, all the inbound communications start spouting gibberish. He's like, what's going on? And then he's on and hears on the intercom some sailor like freaking out, screaming, "It's God, it's the end of the world." That's what he hears. Wow. Yeah. So that gets his attention. So he goes out and outside to see a glowing orange, like roiling orange, yellowish, reddish. I'm thinking he said it was the size of a beach ball at arm's length, which would be kind of big. It was just above the ship, or maybe off to the side. It wasn't totally clear. He said, I'm standing there watching this for about 20 seconds. A lot of other people. He said sailors were, one guy, he said he had to be sedated. This was a really intense moment. And then the ship goes to battle station, general quarters, battle station. So he had to go back to his comm. And he didn't see it after that, but for the next 20 minutes, the ship was on on general quarters. And he stated that the weapon systems went offline. He learned later. And trying to think what else. That was essentially it. So no communications, no weapons. And then that ended. And he doesn't know how this departed because he didn't get to see it. But that's his story. And then he actually said by the time we got into port a few days later, the only discussion about this at all was from the ship's captain. He got on the ship's intercom and said, well, as you all know, certain things happen aboard a U.S. naval vessel that have to remain on the vessel and not to be discussed anywhere else. I hope I made myself clear, something like that. And that was it.